Apple has released its new iPhone 6, and Samsung Electronics is feeling the squeeze between Cupertino and China in the smartphone market. Former National Assembly Speaker Park Hee-tae has agreed to a sexual harassment settlement. And a growing number of Korean seniors are getting caught smuggling drugs for cash.
Hello and welcome to News Today on KBS World. It's Thursday, September 25th. I'm Luke Clary. California computer and smartphone giant Apple is making waves with the release of its new iPhone 6. And Samsung Electronics' dominance in the market faces a serious threat, feeling the squeeze from Apple and up-and-coming Chinese manufacturers.
The iPhone 6 and 6 Plus are Apple's first big-screen smartphones. The latest iPhone models were first rolled out in 10 countries on September 19th, including the US and the UK. 10 million of these phones were sold over first weekend of its release. That's a record high for an Apple device. Meanwhile, Samsung Electronics, the traditional leader of the big-screen smartphone market, is in emergency mode. The Korean tech giant has therefore pushed up its newest release, the Galaxy Note 4, from next month to tomorrow. The phones will first be sold in Korea and China. This is the first time that Samsung's strategic smartphone is marketed first in China. Apparently, Samsung is looking to take the Chinese market before the iPhone 6 makes its entry.
프리미엄부터 시작해서 중가, 저가까지 폭넓은 라인업을 가지고 있고 시장 상황에 따라서 적극적으로 대응을 해나갈 그런 생각입니다.
But concerns are mounting over Samsung Electronics' shaky hold on the smartphone market. Chinese mobile phone makers are quickly catching up, and Apple is launching strong countermeasures.
스마트폰 사업이 좋지 않습니다. 고가 시장에서 경쟁이 좀 심화되는 게 우려가 되고요. 중저가 시장에서는 아시는 것처럼 중국 업체들 진출이 좀 활발한 상태입니다.
Some pessimists predict that Samsung Electronics' third quarter profit will fall to the $3 billion range. It remains to be seen whether Samsung can beat back the early onslaught by Apple's newest phones.
In New York, President Park Geun-hye delivered an address to the UN General Assembly where she urged North Korea to abandon its nuclear program and called for international action to improve human rights there. She also took a swipe at Japan over wartime sex crimes.
In a keynote speech at the 69th UN General Assembly, President Park Geun-hye urged North Korea to scrap its nuclear program.
한반도와 동북아 평화에 가장 큰 위협인 북한 핵무기가 시급히 해결되어야 한다는 점을 강조하고자 합니다.
She promised to support the North's economic development with the international community if Pyongyang voluntarily gives up on its nuclear ambition. The president said that North Korea's human rights violations are a great concern for the international community. She urged countries around the world to pay more attention to North Korean escapees.
탈북민들이 자유의사에 따라 목적지를 선택할 수 있도록 UN 해당 기구와 관련 국가들이 필요한 지원을 제공해야 합니다.
Without directly calling Tokyo out, Park pressured Japan to take sincere measures to resolve issues stemming from its wartime sexual slavery of women from other Asian countries.
전시 여성에 대한 성폭력은 어느 시대, 어떤 지역을 막론하고 분명히 인권과 인도주의에 반하는 행위입니다.
The president introduced a plan to create a peace park in the heavily armed demilitarized zone and to use it as the starting point for the reunification of the two Koreas. She sought the UN's active support for the project. Park also mentioned that it is abnormal that South and North Korea take up 2 seats at the UN. She asked the international community to help the two Koreas achieve national unification.
Also in New York, the Korean and Japanese foreign ministers are scheduled to meet tomorrow. This may lead to improved bilateral relations and even a summit, but it's early to tell whether the meeting can live up to its promise.
A meeting between Korea's Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se and his Japanese counterpart Fumio Kishida is set to take place tomorrow in New York City. The UN General Assembly created the opportunity for the ministerial meeting. This will be the 4th meeting between the two sides so far this year. This meeting is under scrutiny because it's the first bilateral meeting immediately following an exchange of personal letters between the leaders of the two countries. Last week, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe proposed a summit, and President Park Geun-hye replied that it needed thorough preparations. With expectations mounting, a government source says that the summit will be the key agenda at tomorrow's meeting. But it's still too early to be optimistic because the two countries are still wide apart on thorny issues, such as Japan's recruitment of Korean sex slaves during World War II. Seoul insists that Tokyo should make sincere efforts to appease the victims of Japan's sexual slavery. A diplomatic source says whether a summit can take place depends on the South Korean and Japanese leaders' political decisions on the matter. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Abe reportedly will not mention the comfort women issue during his speech at the UN General Assembly tomorrow. Instead, he will emphasize the Japanese government's interest in championing women's rights.
Now to the Sewol ferry trial, where the prosecution presented a simulation showing a far different fate for the ship's hundreds of passengers. Had the crew properly ordered an escape, they say, all 476 passengers could have made it off the boat in just 10 minutes.
The ill-fated Sewol ferry began to sink at 8:50 a.m. on April 16th. Experts conducted an evacuation simulation of a ship with a tilt of 30 degrees. It took 5 minutes and 5 seconds for all 476 passengers of the ship to escape and jump into the sea. At an angle of 52.2 degrees, the escape time clocks in at 9 minutes and 28 seconds. After the arrival of the Coast Guard, the passengers would have needed 6 minutes and 17 seconds to escape, even though the ship listed by nearly 60 degrees. Experts say that as the ship tilted even more, it would have been easy for the passengers on the 4th floor to have escaped into the sea. The simulation was conducted based on the presumption that the 15 crew members of the ferry had ordered the passengers to leave the ship and work to evacuate them. The time for escape was calculated while keeping in mind the walking pace of passengers.
15명 정도면 건축물이나 배나 충분히 대피도를 칠 수 있는 인원이고요. 훈련만 잘 되어 있으면 아마 이런 사고는 발생하지 않았을 거로 저는 판단합니다.
However, the crew's defense counsel counterclaimed that other variables and conditions during the sinking were not sufficiently reflected on the simulation, such as tumbling cargo. They also insisted that the simulation should not be considered as evidence since it failed to incorporate the distinctive features of the Sewol case. So now it falls upon the judges to decide whether to allow the experiment as evidence or not.
Former National Assembly Speaker Park Hee-tae has agreed to a settlement with a female golf caddy who accused him of sexually harassing her several times. Regardless of the settlement agreement, the police plan to continue their investigation into the charges of sexual abuse.
Former National Assembly Speaker Park Hee-tae is under a police investigation for fondling a 23-year-old female caddy several times while playing golf on September 11th. The police questioned the caddy who had filed charges against Park, as well as other workers at the golf course, for their detailed accounts of the incident. However, Park did not appear at the police station on September 16th as he was summoned to do. Meanwhile, it has been confirmed that the caddy submitted an agreement to drop all charges against the former head of parliament. Park said that there was nothing special to say and that he felt nothing was unusual during the golf match. The police, however, will continue to investigate the sexual harassment allegations against Park regardless of the settlement. According to the laws on sex crimes, which were revised in June last year, an accused person can still be penalized even if a settlement has been reached with the accuser or when no charges have been filed. The police will reissue a summons if Park fails to appear at the police station by Friday.
North Korea is proudly reporting its victories at the 2014 Asian Games in Incheon and Asian Football Confederation Under-16 Championship. As with other parts of the world, sports achievements are unifying the people of North Korea.
Returning from successful sports competitions abroad, gold medal-wearing North Korean football players were bombarded with flower bouquets and hugs. High-level North Korean government officials like Choi Ryong-hae and Kim Yang-gun were also there to greet the players. Outside the station, a large crowd gathered to congratulate the players on their feat.
강성국가군손에서 일대 비약을 일으켜 나가고 있는 시기에 국제 무대에서 남홍색 공화국기를 자랑스럽게 휘날린 선수들을 맞이한
With a triumphant smile, the players waved their hands in a car parade. Forming an endless line, Pyongyang citizens enthusiastically welcomed the football players. The players and citizens gave credit to North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and the ruling Workers' Party for the victory.
어머니 저기 기뻐하게 승리의 금메달만을 상가드리겠습니다. 경례하는 원수님 정말 고맙습니다.
정말 이들이야말로 우리 당의 체육강국 건설 구상을 앞장에서 실현해 나가는 주인공들이라고 생각합니다.
North Korean news outlets have made headlines of the North Korean team's victories at the 2014 Asian Games in the South Korean port city of Incheon. Repeated reports are published about North Korean weightlifters' winning of gold medals and the football team's victory. A special website is dedicated to the sporting feats. The massive media coverage is in line with the North Korean leader's policy of emphasizing sports. They are also apparently aimed at promoting the regime's stability and social unity.
A growing number of Korean seniors, mostly retirees in their 60s and 70s, are being caught smuggling drugs for dealers. They do it to earn some extra cash, but they can end up behind bars.
This suitcase belongs to a man in his 60s who arrived from Shanghai, China back in April. The customs authorities found 9 handbags in the suitcase hidden among his undergarments. Inside the handbags, the officials found 4.5 kilograms of methamphetamine. Its value surpassed $12 million. The man who smuggled the drugs into Korea was supposed to meet a Nigerian man who had arrived earlier from Tokyo and delivered a substance to him.
You told me Hamilton Hotel, room number. What is room number?
Customs officials and prosecutors arrested and indicted both men. This year, 4 Koreans have been caught for smuggling drugs at the request of African drug dealers. Some of them were apprehended in Japan and France. All of them were men in their 60s or older.
과거에는 젊은 층들을 상대로 운반책으로 고용을 했지만 감시가 심해지자 나이 든 사람들을 상대로 금년부터 집중적으로 유혹을 하고 있는 것으로 파악하고 있습니다.
Customs authorities assume that foreign drug dealers recruit Korean senior citizens to smuggle narcotics out of the country for them because Korean seniors arriving from Incheon International Airport are not as thoroughly checked at customs at their foreign destinations as others would be.
전화나 이메일을 통해 물건을 운반해주면 수고비로 큰 돈을 주겠다고 하는 유혹에 현혹되지 않도록 각별히 주의해 주시기 바랍니다.
Through August of this year, authorities seized more than 11 kilograms of illegal drugs that were smuggled into the country, more than 3 times the figure from the same period last year.
The Seoul city government has decided to transform an old overpass at Seoul Station into an eco park instead of demolishing it. Seoul City says it will take cues from Highline Park in New York, which was once a rail line but now serves as one of the city's major landmarks.
The 2.5-kilometer-long Highline Park in New York hovers 9 meters above the ground. The park was created on an old railway that was used to transport freight along America's East Coast. The rail line was preserved in its original form, but it harmonizes perfectly with the surrounding architecture, drawing 4 million tourists annually.
No matter what time of day you come here, it's a really peaceful retreat from the busy bustle that the city.
At first, the New York City government wanted to demolish the railway and build a shopping mall on its site, but it scrapped its plan in the face of strong opposition from civic groups and wanted to create a park. New York citizens raised funds to personally choose the designer and collected opinions from all walks of life to build this eco-friendly park. The New York City government only provided the construction costs.
You have to listen to all those ideas, and you have to try as best you can to incorporate them, or at least to understand what the goals of.
The Seoul city government has decided to take cues from Highline Park to transform an old overpass at Seoul Station into an eco park.
산업유산을 활용해서 현대인들에게 맞게 하나의 보행 공간으로 확보한다는 것, 또 녹색 공간으로 전환시킨다는 것.
However, some say the project is just for show because its construction costs surpass $36 million. The Seoul city government plans to benchmark the example of Highline Park, which was created by the initiative of civic groups. Seoul City says it'll create the Eco Park based on the opinions of Seoul residents and will even hold an international contest to come up with the best ideas.
Vinegar is a versatile and indispensable item in the kitchen. Its acidity perks up the appetite and even prevents food from spoiling. Today, we'll show you how to make vinegar at home and how to use it.
This homemaker claims that she's seen some terrific results from drinking vinegar. She quenches her thirst with a healthy mixture of vinegar and water while working in the pear orchard. She says she drinks at least a bottle of it every day.
약초를 넣어가지고 담은 식초예요.
All sorts of fruits, grains, and vegetables can be ingredients for vinegar. Let's find out how to make pear vinegar. Just add a little bit of sugar and the vinegar starter made from fermented makgeolli. This batch will keep for more than 3 years. A month later, you will see a film form over the vinegar. Now, what prompted her to make her own vinegar?
했는데도 너무 아픈 거예요. 그래가지고 안 되겠다, 이건 아니다 싶어가지고 살을 빼려고 생각을 했었어요. 그때 생각을 하고 식초를 먹기 시작하고 20kg 뺐어요, 지금은.
So, does vinegar really help with weight loss?
식초 속에는 지방이 합성되는 것을 방지해주는 성분이 들어져 있기 때문에 체지방을 합성하는 속도를 늦춰주고 우리 몸에 지방이 쌓이는 것을 막아줍니다. 또한 노폐물을 배출해주는 효과가 크기 때문에 꾸준히 섭취하면 다이어트에도 도움이 될 수 있습니다.
Then, is vinegar really an effective washing agent? A computer mouse is known to have more than 5 times the number of bacteria than on a toilet. This mouse registered 139 on a germ reader. A cotton pad soaked in vinegar was used to clean the mouse surface. Amazingly, the bacteria count fell to 0, proving vinegar's exceptional antibacterial property. Then, how can we steadily consume vinegar in our daily diet? Here are some simple recipes that call for vinegar.
공복에 많이 먹으면 위 건강에 해로울 수가 있습니다. 이때 위 건강에 좋은 양배추와 함께 드시면 좋은데요. 양배추와 식초로 피클을 만들어 드시면 아주 좋은 궁합이라고 할 수 있습니다.
Boil vinegar and sugar and just pour the solution over bite-sized chunks of cabbage and other vegetables. It's even better when left to sit for a day. Let's make some banana vinegar known to ease swelling. Just mix 1 part banana with 1 part vinegar. Add some banana vinegar to ice and water, and you have a refreshing drink. When refrigerated for about a week, the vinegar absorbs the sweetness of the banana and becomes tastier. These vinegar-based dishes are great for easing fatigue as well. It only takes about 20 minutes to make them, so try these recipes at home. These dishes will help restore your energy and perk up your appetite with the vinegar's health-boosting properties.
Now we'll take a look at the markets, followed by the world weather. That's it for this edition of News Today. We'll see you again at the same time tomorrow. Have a great day.